How does oxygen move through the body? In this video, you will find the answer to this question. First, the oxygen goes through the oral and nasal cavities. These cavities are the path into and out of the body. While in the oral and nasal cavities, the air gets moistened, but in the nasal cavity, the air gets filtered as well. Next, the oxygen goes through the pharynx, where it gets more moistened, warmed, and filtered. The parts of the pharynx are the nasopharynx, the oropharynx, and the laryngopharynx. The larynx is the next step to the journey. This is the part of the body that connects the pharynx and the trachea so the oxygen can flow through. Next, the oxygen goes through the trachea. The trachea is the tube that connects the larynx to the bronchi. The bronchi is next. The bronchi transport the oxygen through the lungs and onto the bronchioles. The bronchioles then carry the oxygen onto the alveoli. In the alveoli, the oxygen is absorbed by the red blood cells inside the capillaries, while carbon dioxide is being absorbed by the alveoli. The capillaries carry the oxygen in the hemoglobin to the venules. These venules come together to make veins. After that, these veins group together to become the pulmonary vein. This is the vein that comes to the heart from the lungs. The oxygen has now entered the heart, and the blood from the pulmonary vein comes into the left atrium. Once the pressure builds up and the left atrium contracts, the blood pushes through the bicuspid valve. The blood enters the left ventricle, where again, the left ventricle contracts and the blood goes through the aortic valve, which leads to the aorta. Once inside the aorta, the largest artery in the body, the blood travels to our other arteries. These arteries then travel into the even smaller arterioles. These arterioles break up into capillaries and the oxygen is absorbed by the cell. While inside the cell, the glucose and the oxygen combine in the mitochondria to make ATP. In this process, water and carbon dioxide come out. To get the carbon dioxide out of the body, the capillaries absorb the carbon dioxide. From there, the capillaries come together to create venules. Those venules turn into veins, and those veins lead into the inferior and superior vena cavas. The inferior vena cava takes blood from the lower body, and the superior vena cava takes blood from the upper body. This blood goes into the right atrium. Once the right atrium builds up pressure from the blood and contracts, the blood goes through the tricuspid valve. Once through the tricuspid valve, the carbon dioxide enters the right ventricle. The ventricle contracts and the blood pushes through the pulmonary valve. The valve closes and the carbon dioxide rushes through the pulmonary artery. The pulmonary artery breaks up into many other arteries to get to the even smaller arterioles. The arterioles lead to the capillaries. Once in the capillaries, the carbon dioxide is absorbed by the alveoli. The carbon dioxide travels through the alveoli to get to the bronchioles. The bronchioles then carry the carbon dioxide to the bronchi. The bronchi bring the carbon dioxide to the trachea, where it is then transported to the larynx. From the larynx, the carbon dioxide goes into the pharynx. Finally, the carbon dioxide goes through the oral and nasal cavities to get exhaled and exits the body. This process starts again.